Welcome to the start of a new adventure from North Africa and the fascinating country of Morocco. To start this series of videos, I'm in the country's oldest city, Fez, in the spectacular Medina that's basically unchanged from when it was established 1,200 years ago. I arrived in Morocco a few days ago in Casablanca on the Atlantic coast, the country's modern business hub and one of Africa's leading financial centers.
Casablanca is a wonderful place to start a Morocco visit, even though I've used it this time as a gateway. It's a bustling, modern city, the country's economic hub, one of Africa's leading financial centers. If you come with the vision of the classic World War II era movie Casablanca, one of my favorite films of all time, by the way, you'll quickly see that the reality of today's city is much different, except maybe here in the old Medina, where life goes on largely unchanged from how Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman portrayed it, even if the movie was filmed on the back lot of a Los Angeles studio.
I came here to Fez by train. It's about 3 hours, 45 minutes, using the country's fast and efficient railway system. It's something of a culture shock entering this grand walled old quarter with its labyrinth of twisting pedestrian streets and alleyways, virtually undisturbed since the 900s CE. There are literally thousands of quote-unquote streets and alleyways within the walls of this Medina, none of them on a grid. And so it goes without saying that it's very easy to get turned around here. When my taxi brought me to one of the Medina's 14 gates, there are no cars here. A staffer from my ryad, or guest house, met me and led me to the place, or else it would have been tough to find.
Okay. They have one more big, more small, any size.
Like many ryads, the darasme isn't just a guest house. It's an experience, wrapped in crafted wood, exquisite tile, and hand-woven rugs. You can be forgiven for temporarily forgetting what century you're in. At the Yasmin, for about $5 US, you get breakfast. This breakfast. All of it. Almost worth it for the mint tea alone.
I'm walking through a huge cemetery. I'm headed to a hilltop where the views are alleged to be spectacular. I made it to the top of the hill. The ruins here are ruins from the dynasty that ruled Morocco from the 13th to the 15th centuries. Tombs of Moroccan kings of that era. to my left, and below it is this cemetery. And of course down below you can see the sprawling Medina and beyond. Well, I've come up the hill with my two new friends, Connie and Elisa, from Great Britain and Italy, respectively. And I think we've been here about maybe 2-3 minutes before realizing that we'd committed our first cultural faux pas. We were talking, and a gentleman, I don't know if he's praying or merely meditating, but he wanted to warn us that even though we were outdoors, we were technically in a sacred place, and that we were making too much noise. That's your sense of what happened?
I think so. He did try to sell me a scarf, so once he told us to be quiet. So.
The kings from the empire built here, who were buried here, are no longer buried here. What you see are empty crypts, none that are visibly intact. Well, I'm still with Connie and Elise, and we decided to stop for lunch, and only because we can, two of us ordered Camel burger, and I'm about to see how this tastes. Elise, you've got the other Camel burger. You haven't eaten yours yet.
No,
okay,
I haven't bited in it yet.
Okay.
I'm a chips first.
Okay. What is that you're having, Connie?
Falafel and hummus platter. I'm not brave enough for a camel burger.
I don't know if I am either, but we're going to soon find out. And this is a very thick, juicy looking burger, so it's bound to be messy, but I'm going to eat it on camera anyway. That's how hungry I am. Okay. It's good. It's almost like eating a beef burger.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Give it a bite.
Okay.
Just give it a bite. Look.
It has a distinctive flavor, but it's sort of on the
very
light
subtle,
side.
isn't it?
Yeah,
it's not very
vanilla.
Yeah, it's not like, oh god, yes, it's different. Yeah.
No. Well, maybe two humped camels are different. I don't know, but it's good. It's good. I wouldn't complain at all about a camel burger, and no offense to all of you camel lovers. With fries. Fez was founded in the year 789 by the leader of an Arab Muslim dynasty, Idris I. But it was his son, Idris II, who gave the city its big boost by moving the capital of the kingdom here. Hence, Fez's distinction as Morocco's first capital, a distinction that it lost to Marrakesh and later regained during the zenith of its power from the 12th to the 15th centuries. Modern Morocco isn't that old. After a civil war in the early 1900s, the then ruling sultan called in the French to help maintain power, and the French ended up taking over, colonizing the country in 1912. Morocco gained formal independence from France in 1956. Today, Rabat on the Atlantic coast north of Casablanca is the capital, but Morocco's king maintains the official royal palace here, and numerous of the city's families continue to be among Morocco's political elite. Fez has been a Muslim Arab city since its inception, but in a distinctive way. That's because its early settlers not only included Arabs migrating from the east, but also Arabic Moors fleeing Spain at about the same time. Add a sizable number of Jews also fleeing from Spain, as well as native Berbers, and you have a multicultural strain that goes back centuries here. I'm in a beautiful park not far from the Blue Gate of the Medina, filled with fountains and Beautiful trees, including patterns of orange trees. Very Arabic, very Moroccan. And it's gorgeous, as you can tell from the sounds of the birds. Water is a precious commodity here, and I'm reminded of that even at the hotel where I'm staying in the Medina, the Ryad I should say. Earlier today I heard a loud argument outside the hotel in one of the alleyways, and I thought perhaps it was a couple having a spat, but no, it was a disagreement over neighbors, one of whom was alleging that his neighbor was taking too much time at the public water fountain. And that's why I bring this up, because there are homes, I don't know how many, but there are a sizable amount of residences inside the old quarter, inside the Medina, which do not have running water. There are plenty that do, but some don't. And so people depend on public water fountains in their neighborhoods to draw water. And some of these fountains have been there for centuries. And so that was the source of the disagreement. It is a reminder of where this place is. While not strictly a desert, it's a high plateau in the foothills of the Middle Atlas Mountains, that you can see very well from the city. But water is precious here. I'm reminded of that when I see the beautiful man-made lake reservoir in this park with walkways around it for people to enjoy. Well, I'm at the main entrance to the palace, which sits on a sprawling 80 hectares, and I'm told includes a 9-hole golf course. It dates to the 1200s, although it's been expanded numerous times during the 18th to the 20th centuries. The palace is not open to the public, but the main entrance, largely unchanged for centuries, still draws plenty of visitors. Well, the video that you just saw was extra legal, as it turns out. I'd done the stand-up facing away from the palace doors, and I thought that was fine. Of course, you could see the palace doors behind me, but then I turned around to get sort of a B-roll swivel of the palace entry itself, and then a senior security officer politely shouted at me saying, "No, no, no." And what he was saying was that it is illegal to take a picture of the palace entrance from the outside. I didn't do it intentionally, and as a matter of fact, I got my shot. But sometimes you just don't know. I'm walking in the city's Jewish quarter, the Mellah as it's known, which I've got to say is a rather strange sensation given the fact that there are hardly any Jews left in Fez. The structures in this neighborhood near the royal palace are mostly of either modern origin or date back 100 or 200 years ago, as you can see, but the neighborhood itself dates to the 1400s, when during that period of time after 1400s there were as many as 250,000 Jews living mainly here in this section of the city, in the Jewish quarter. They came here after being driven out of Spain along with the Moors in the decades before Columbus famously sailed from Spain to the Caribbean while trying to find India. There were once numerous synagogues here, and the last of them, the last of the great synagogues, is where I'm headed, the Ibn Danan synagogue, the latest rebuilding of which dates to the 1800s, but which has a presence here for several centuries earlier than that. Quite a few of the streets of the old Jewish quarter are not streets at all. They're very narrow alleyways. Those who are not self-reliant or have no sense of direction, you do not want to attempt finding your own way. I'm really the only visitor here at the moment. Sort of makes you think about what this building represents, what it represented to so many people for several centuries, to worship here in a large congregation, multiple congregations of Jews going back several hundred years. This is not a functioning synagogue. It is rather a museum operated by the Jewish Moroccan Foundation and open to anyone willing to pay the equivalent of $2.50 US to enter. For those here and elsewhere who are Jewish particularly and who visit this spot, it must be a bit of sadness involved to see what once was and really is no longer. Well, as you see, I've descended into a basement-like space. This is a mikveh, which is an area for ritual bathing incorporated into synagogues, and this one, of course, like others, would have been a place for, say, brides before marriage to be ritually bathed here. This mikveh is of particular interest because it wasn't discovered or rediscovered until about 25 years ago. There are estimated to be only between 40 and 50 Jews living in Fez. Headed up to the rooftop. You can't see the full sweep of the city here, but you do see the hills to one side and a glimpse of the former Jewish quarter. Only a handful of Jews left in Fez. Where did they go? Well, most of them left after the French occupation ended in 1956. Some resettled in Casablanca and Rabat, the capital. But the vast majority of Fez's Jews departed the country entirely, leaving for Israel and elsewhere.
Fez is the kind of place where the more you poke around, the more you want to know. It doesn't give up its secrets easily, which is why I'm not finished with it.